good evening, and welcome to another episode of Thought That Get Results. I'm Everett Weber Herbert, and as per usual, we're here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to the Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown and Nevis, or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. And by the way, those will be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed, 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You got a question or comment? Perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that when you're getting on the show, you're well organized, so we can take as many of your calls as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. You can also follow us on YouTube, our YouTube channel. You click on YouTube, type in Vaughan Radio, and you subscribe to us. Or you can follow us on our Facebook page and see the video streaming live. Thank you all again for joining us, your voice in the community. Tonight, we got two segments. First off, Samuel Williams is a community advisor for St. Kitts and Nevis. He's been here many a time before with some very interesting topics. We are glad to have him. And as I introduce him, I remind all of you that if you have something of community interest or concern, you can do what Samuel Williams usually do. He gets in touch with us, try to get on the show. When we can accommodate, we do that, just that, as we are doing now. Samuel Williams, good evening.
Good evening to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. It's a great pleasure for me to be here once more to inform you and advise you as a community and community-oriented issues. And tonight, I do think that we can have a glorious time in disseminating certain community-oriented information.
Okay, I know that you have a particular topic for tonight that we're going to be covering, and also the different times when you have dealt with other areas. You may not be able to tell us all, but just for the folks who have not heard you before, can you give us, quite a little sample of some of the topics in the areas that you have dealt with in the past?
Well, I'm a self-proclaimed community advisor, and I just celebrated my 20th anniversary, 20 years in January. And I have just various topics, issues regarding salary-based issues on Nevis. Then I spoke about effective leadership. I spoke about mismanagement of human resources, and I also spoke about mental block towards leadership, and much more.
And what are we going to speak about tonight?
This evening, a very intriguing topic, and it is improving the workforce and the relationship with employers and their subordinates, or the employers and their workers.
Okay, so why don't you first give us your overview of that? Because I know normally when you are addressing particular topics, you do what we call studies, you do research, you speak to people, and as a consequence, you're well informed.
But there are three subtopics I would outline this evening. And the first one is orientation on new employment assignments. The other one is employers should not create an environment for subordination. And then they have mismanagement for human resources. And then we go straight into addressing the areas regarding orientation on new employment assignments. Firstly, I will start at the top, which is the government. Now, we have ministers of governments, and they have been sworn in to be in charge of certain ministries. And let's look at statutory bodies, for example. There are three statutory bodies on Nevis. We have the Solid Waste Management Authority, then we have the Nevis Electricity Company, and then we also have what's the other one is?
Housing and Land.
Yeah, Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. Now, when a minister is being assigned to a particular institution, so the statutory institution, I'm looking forward to see, as it was done in the past, orientation on a new and job assignment where a minister, a board member, chairman of the board members, communicating their presence in terms of visiting all areas of the departments. Within these corporations, there are indigenous managers, indigenous departments, and there's also a general manager. So they communicate their presence, visiting each department, working on with the manager, being endorsed by the manager, to whom this may concern. Then the question has been asked, how can you be assigned to a particular institution and being responsible to a particular job assignment, a ministry assignment, without having any physical knowledge of what you are responsible for? For example, let's look at the News Housing Land Corporation, the minister responsible for that, the chairperson, just a handful of them, board of directors. You've been endorsed with the manager. Let's say you have water pumps, you have storage, and you have perhaps let's look a power station. You have certain control rooms. You have persons that are responsible for the operating skill of these the power station. So you present yourself so that the workers can be familiar with you, familiar with you. And why do I say this? Because you are responsible for making approval and disapproval. And within the absence of physical knowledge, sometimes you haven't been familiarized yourself with the working environment. And I would consider just about 3 areas in which I do think that your presence should be communicated. Number one, to have a good knowledge of the working environment, whether they are moving, to see whether the institution is moving forward or backwards, an improvement of the institution. Then the other area is the workers would create more respect and appreciation and acceptance for you as their leader. When I say leader, I'm referring to employer or boss. And the area I'm looking at is that to have accurate physical knowledge of those responsible within the indigenous functions. And for example, you present yourself within these indigenous departments, then you can say, well, this is the storage department, this is storekeeper. Then you go to the solid waste management, then you say, well, this is all our site where we have discard our waste. So when there are certain recommendations and suggestions in order to improve working conditions, you don't stay within your office and have this certain disapproval because you are in charge. You have a good knowledge about why certain employees are suffering, why certain working conditions are not conducive for the workers, and so on. Then another area we look at where communicating your presence, you find that the workers would know that you're in charge. Another physical example is your board of directors, and a memo is being sent out, and it goes as far as there. And then the employers are wondering, who are these board members? Except they might have certain public knowledge about the name they heard about. They might familiarize the person, but their presence are not known. And may have 3-4 years board directors, and we don't know who they are. I'm speaking specifically on this statutory corporation. We don't know who they are, except the only time I do think that their presence can be communicated or is known is when they're attending a board meeting. And that is to be done after work, after working hours. And I certainly think this is wrong. It is either A, the people accept it, or B, we are naive, or they don't care. And these are people that are academically inclined. And I'm not here to hit anybody this evening, because this is very much unsatisfactory. Then we have orientation on new employees within these statutory corporations, or even the civil service, and then also the public sector, because We have three sectors. We have the government, we have the private sector, and also have the common man, which is the self-employed person. That time we will see a new employee walking into the office, and a question being asked, who is that? Who is that person? Who is that fellow? He looks like he's working. And let's go back as far as perhaps 8-10 years ago. This has been done with the Department of Human Resources, where a new employee being endorsed to all the different departments, where he or she can familiarize his or herself with the workforce. Somehow this been gone out of the door, and I think that we need to reactivate these things. Then let's go to the other area of employers should not create an environment for subordination. Now, subordination, in my regard, I'm specifically referring to certain employers would create an environment for subordination. For example, approaching the employees by saying bad words, approaching the employees within a hostile way, and with a vexed spirit, and also approaching the employees in an unprofessional manner, which I think is something that certainly not accepted. Just to frustrate certain employees, and when the employees tend to respond in a negative way, the boss would suspend the employee, or the employee can be fired. And I think this is wrong. Now, I don't care what kind of qualifications they are, what certification, how much university they have attended. I don't care what kind of degrees they have in education. If one does not have manners, if one does not know how to effectively resolve workers' issues, and has good communicating skills, knowing how to appreciate employees, knowing how to respect him or herself, then I would say certainly you are not qualified for the job. You're not qualified. And the also area of subordination, I've seen areas where there is inconsistent employment, where the subordinates or the certain underworkers continuously relinquishing their employment. And questions have been asked, what is possible can be this concern why there is inconsistent employment? And some instances, the manager alone would remain. So is it working conditions? Is it a boss attitude? Or is it the working environment? And if it is the working environment, why is it everybody else is leaving but one person will always remain? And this is a very troubling concern of subordination, where the employer would pick at certain employees and frustrate them. If an employer has personal issues, I would advise him or her to leave their differences at the gate, or out in the road, or by the fence. I certainly think that professionalism within the workforce in regards to certain employers needs to be revisited. Then I'll go to that area of mismanagement of human resources, and the above mentioned issues should also be governed by the Human Resources Department. Now, the most national and humanitarian way to develop and promote human welfare and deal with workers' problems is to enhance capacity. And I'm referring to management of human resources. And I can go on. There's a significant breakdown in the human resource department or management. There's also a lack of communication. And then you have non-implementation of policies and regulation, misuse of our appraisal system to discriminate and exploit certain persons or certain employees, right? And in these conditions, they are without certain recourse, which means we cannot get a satisfaction. We cannot get our issues resolved. So therefore, the government service, the private sector, need to reconsider the efforts to visit and activate the human resources policies in order to create a balance within the workforce. And they will also outline certain responsibilities of human resources department, human resources within both sectors, both government and private sectors. Number one is to carry out basic training for the workers, not certain isolated workers, all workers that are interested. Then they have to disseminate the institution's policies and regulations. Then three, to ensure that the compensation and benefits for workers are current. Number four, we also have to ensure that the health and safety procedures are maintained. And five, to ensure that the workers are committed to the organization, its goals and objectives. So if there are certain workers that are committed to the organization or institution, I think that certain things can be done whether or not you have to get more committed, more serious about your employment. You either relinquish your employment or you try endeavor to improve yourself. So these are my introductions this evening.
This is Thought That Get Results with Community Advisor for St. Kitts and Nevis, Samuel Williams. A little later on, we'll have the second portion of the program, and we'll be back right after these.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. They have got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, they are open all day Saturday to serve you better. Builders Paradise, located at CAP Southwell Industrial Park, St. Kitts. Call them today at 466-4938.
Sugar City, St. Kitts. Keep it sweet. Keep listening to Vaughn.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results with Community Advisor for St. Kitts and Nevis, Mr. Samuel Williams. Your phone calls a little later on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Don't forget, you would like to follow the video stream. Go to YouTube, type in Vaughn Radio and subscribe to us, and you capture the video feed live. Also, you can follow us on our Facebook page. Samuel, you got some other areas you'd like to cover. I got a couple of questions that I would like to ask you, but why don't you go ahead and fill in those areas first, and then we can get into the open discussion.
To continue, leaders, which I'm referring to employers, are to be competent and educated. And I'm not referring to academical certifications just only, whether certain degrees or bachelor degrees. I'm referring to certain qualities for principals where the workers or subordinates would therefore respect you. That when they see certain employers are approaching, they start using a cultural expression of cutting their head at them and grumbling. Because it is said that about 95% of employees dislike the boss. And we need to rectify that. Now, the qualities of a good leader, which I'm referring to employers, is to understand awareness. And there are certain employers does not understand awareness. They need to understand awareness and the nature or differences between boss and employee. In conducting certain work out there, whether it is within the office or within the field, it's teamwork. So out there, there's no boss. Everybody's working together in a united way as a team. Because if you're saying that you're a boss, which means there would be some sort of disunity, because you might be demonstrating a particular idea in which is not correct, is improper. In order to get the job done, we have to work together as a team. Now, the employee, in terms of their image and actions, they that should be the employer in terms of their image and actions. I spoke about earlier to communicate the presence, and their presence are very, very much important because I saw somebody was trying to reach a board member, a particular board member, taking photograph. Now the photograph is trying to compel the chairman of the board to come and visit a particular area which has a very much hostile environment and is in a disorderly manner. Now, I spoke of orientation earlier, and if orientation exercises are to be considered, be reconsidered, then we won't have to be running behind chairman, board members, and so on, a minister responsible for a particular institution to come. Because they will have a good idea about why is it they've been invited. Now, the leader, which is referring to the boss, our manager, must present themselves in decisiveness in making certain tough decisions. For example, they're speaking with authority, and by speaking with authority, what they say, these duties should be carried out in certain situations where difficult and timely decisions must be made within the best interest. And this means which requires firmness and authority and finality. And then finality, they are making the final decision that would be in the best interest and the situation to please everyone, which means I'm referring to the employees, not to please yourself, or to please certain employees. Then employers are to address situations that would best benefit the needs of the workers, that will satisfy the institution or organization, the best interests. Some months ago, I was campaigning very heavily in getting certain, let me personalize this issue for the sake of the public. We have a storage container there where we have storage material. And I was campaigning for months, maybe 6 months or more, in order to get certain windows and doors on that container, which resulted in poor ventilation. And I asked a person who is responsible there to install certain windows or doors in order to improve the working condition. And because they have not communicated their presence, they have no limited knowledge about what I'm referring to, and because they do have the authority to approve and disapprove, they said no. And I became very hostile. I said, it's because you're not communicating your presence, you haven't got any knowledge about what I'm referring to. And they claim, how do you know we're not coming within the site? I said, if you visit the site, why can't you come within my presence? Because I'm the one who is advocating grievances. Or if they visited the site, did they go at midnight, or why did they have to go in the night? Or why did they visit the site when we are sleeping? Or if they had visited the site, they should come back and say, I had visited the site, and I'm very much familiar with what you are referring to. But this was not done, so I concluded there's a breakdown of communication, and you're not transparent at all. And these are lacking. By not communicating your presence, somebody's suffering. Then, to wrap up this idea of employers need to be competent and educated, employers need to have very good knowledge about their assignments. Some employers have been assigned, have been employed for certain assignment, and the knowledge they have, their knowledge is limited. They have to depend on certain under workers in which they are disregarding in order to be productive and successful. Now, they need to have good knowledge about optimism and accountability, and sometimes they make the government look bad. They're not demonstrating good accountability. They can't even give account for something that we are depending on. And have confidence. The confidence must be demonstrated in terms of challenges and responsibility with the endeavor to improve the situation. And sometimes they can't even improve the situation by using their authority. They can't do it. So I said earlier, I will say it again, I will be repetitive, that if you are incompetent, you need to pack up and go. Because these employers are responsible for so many workers, and they're incompetent. Now, finally, every leader, which I'm referring to, employer, should learn their job well and thoroughly, not just collect a salary, and should be academically qualified or obtain a certificate, which is very important, and have a course, a diploma, or if possible, a degree within your field, along with having good manners and good communicating skills, and learn how to resolve workers' issues. Because there's a question, Mr. Herbert.
Yes. Now, you obviously did some research, and some of the things that you found is what you have just expressed there.
Some of my personal experiences.
And some of them are personal experiences.
Yes.
Okay. Now, generally speaking, when you discussed and interviewed fellow workers and employees and so on and so forth. Yes. What's your general sense? People are generally dissatisfied. I notice you made a comment that some studies show that over 90% of persons don't like their boss.
Employees dislike the boss.
Yes. So in our own local cases, what are you finding?
It is due to the fact that there's too much isolation with employers and the subordinates. Due to the fact that not communicating their presence, having in the first degree orientation, which would create acceptance, respect, and so on. That is not being done. So if a mental block is being created in the first impression, that would always be the plea for the employee, because you cannot be assigned to a particular ministry or department without presenting yourself, and that will create acceptance.
So you find that in the case of public service, government,
and the private sector,
well, in both instances, you seem to be suggesting that the persons who are in charge, or the bosses, hardly interact with the workers. That's what you...
I'm referring to basically orientation. Let me explain and get into nitty-gritty. If board members have been assigned to certain statutory corporations, then you have a minister responsible also. In my field, I'm not saying it's happening, but in my field, I've not seen any one of them presenting themselves in regard to orientation. Like, you have a power station there, a generation. Then you have a control room, power station. This is the power station. This is how we operate. Those are the engineers there. Those are the machine operators. Then you have the linesmen. This is how we function. Because the first and second day, one can't argue that they haven't got time, because when elections are due, a whole week they don't sleep. Then you have the salary raise authority, and you also have this housing authority. You present yourselves so that having a good knowledge of what the workers are experiencing, by going there, you see, well, by first impression, what this office needs improvement, this facility needs improving.
I got you. So you're suggesting...
acceptance.
Right, that the persons who are members of this board, who in effect...
And that's what the minister is responsible.
Right, and the minister who dictate the running of how the organization should be run.
Yes.
And you're saying that they're absent in terms of having first-hand experience,
yes,
and in terms of the conditions under which people work, and an overall understanding sometimes of the business. And you said, for instance, if there's a power station, if the board members go and they see the conditions, then they might be able to make better decisions.
And they will have a good fiscal knowledge of what they've been assigned to, what they're being responsible for. You see, they find that they're making blind decisions in regards to certain recommendations, suggestions come from management, because they're accepting what they see, what they've been seeing on paper. Okay, let's go back as far as 1992. I remembered I was employed at the electricity department at the time, 1990 January. And in 1992, this around June also, the minister responsible for communication and works, it's a little small. I remembered he walked all around the electricity department, every corner. He was endorsed by the manager being deceased now. And it was a good orientation. This is storeroom, these are the linesmen, this is the building department, and then so on and so on. And then before he go into his office, he did that. So in this modern governance, I've not seen it happening. Someone argues, I said before, that how do I know they're not coming? But if they came, maybe they came at midnight. As a matter of fact, they should be coming when the workers are present.
And you also mentioned that saying that they don't have time is not an excuse, because when election is near, they don't sleep.
A whole week they don't sleep for. But they have an eye on their opposition. Make sure the opposition doesn't win.
That's
so orientation is they're not even walking. Okay, you have certain employees asking, they have already in a 3 years assignment board member. Who is that person? Who is this person? By sending out a memo, well, that's just writing on paper. Who the person is? You communicate your presence. But how about, let's get more specific. If you were responsible for, let's say, a building in Rollins Village, one at Hanlins Road and Newcastle, you can't just walk in the office here, sit down and so on, and that's it. You present yourself out there so that you can see exactly what you have been responsible for. Am I correct?
Well, I'm hearing you.
That when the opposition party started to dispute you or to kick up, then you say, well, the opposition party, they were there before, they have a good knowledge about what they're talking about, and they can challenge them because they know that they're not coming. You have certain managers responsible for certain indigenous departments, and something you wonder, why can't they come around the department they're responsible for? They sit down in their offices, and so on, make certain decisions. I don't see them. That's wrong. I didn't come here to represent any political party because I'm neither CCM, PAM, Labour, nor NRP. I'm Samuel Williams. So let's get that straight. I didn't come here with either a political agenda. I came here to represent the people as the community advisor activists and community-oriented issues. And I find that the people of Navies, things and Navies, we tend to be so too naive. We have certain issues that are affecting us, and we grumble in a corner. That's hypocrisy. And when the relevant authorities are present, I'm not inclusive, they bow their heads. That's hypocrisy. And this does not speak well of good governance. The workforce is a driving wheel for the country, things and Navies, and this is an area where we should be paying particular attention to. You have another question?
I'm going to take a break and then we are going to come right back with Samuel Williams, Community Advisor for St. Kitts and Nevis, and focusing on the workforce, the relationships between employers and employees, and the productivity that one gets as a consequence. Back after these.
When VON vibrates, the whole Caribbean must shake.
860 AM, the Powerhouse.
My name is Anthony Averill, Vice President, Caribbean Council for the Blind. The EC Polymer Notes give us who are blind or visually impaired a great deal of independence, privacy, and control. Because now we can easily identify our money. We just have to feel for the raised bumps at top left-hand corner of the front of the notes. These bumps form specific shapes. There is a circle on the $5, an X on the $10, a rectangle on the $20, a triangle on the $50, and a square on the $100. Now, control of our money is at the tip of our fingers. Yes, man.
EC Polymer Notes. Cleaner, safer, stronger.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results with Samuel Williams, Community Advisor for St. Kitts and Nevis. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. In the second segment of the program, the heavyweights are standing by. So, Mr. Williams, so you did these different research, discussions, and so on. Now, generally speaking, do you think the productivity of the workers is affected by the relationship between, or lack thereof, between the employer and the employee?
There is something we call mental block towards leadership. Mental block towards the employers or the boss. And the question has been asked, why should the employees have a mental block towards leadership or the boss? And then my researchers have found that this usually happens when certain employers have become very much disrespectful, dishonest, complacent, oppressive, or dictatorial. Then I can go on. The employers would recognize a mental block towards their leadership by the level of support or work they receive from the employees. And you find that little support shows that employees are being discouraged by their bosses. This usually happens when leaders don't do what they're supposed to basically do, live up to the expectations of the employees. And it can go on. The employees who are dissatisfied with their employers would normally speak out, and the consequences as is that they would be marginalized. Sometimes they are being victimized or scrutinized because it is felt that they are not opposing the employers. It is felt that they are opposing the employers' policies. Because I concluded that sometimes meetings are being organized by the person in charge just to get certain knowledge about how the employees think about their management or to look news. Because if we have, there are department meetings, whether it is done monthly or quarterly, there's certain recommendations or suggestions being put forward by the employees. And nothing is being done. They come back again with another updated meeting. You find that 6-7 years, the same issues have been addressed. The grievances prolong, which means they're just, it's just a formality where they're organizing meetings because it's just a formality. There's not the successes, there isn't any productivity in it. And you also find that mental block towards the employers emerge from employees' perception of mismanagement, abuse of leadership, and not living up to the standard, and they have certain deception. Because sometimes they will employ to get quick wealth. I said before that I don't care what kind of files they have in their folder in terms of certification. That is insufficient to qualify you or to prove that you're a competent leader, you're a competent boss. Because you haven't got manners and know how to talk to people, you are not ready. Some instances, a particular statutory institution, there was a particular manager there, just cursing the employees, and if certain persons had to relinquish their employment, and relinquish your employment should not be the alternative. It should be last resort. And so many employees are complaining about a particular boss. Then we need to consider the fact that the problem might be the boss. So many people against one. And to wrap up in this area, there's a blockage when employers make certain dilatory statements in order to incite the employees to do wrong. And the followers and supporters of these employers will come out and show their dissatisfaction by creating mental block towards the leadership of the employer.
You said earlier, and you've said before on other programs and so on, that our people, in a sense, my words, not yours, but suffer in silence. In other words, they go aside and they grumble, they have grievances and so on. In your research, did you find a reason or reasons for that?
Have a perception, certain employees, that they can be terminated, they can be marginalized, they can be victimized, and so on. They can lose certain friendship or certain friends, and it can create certain isolation with the boss and the employees. So they keep quiet. And I consider that to be hypocrisy. Because if something is affecting us, we should have the freedom of expression. And let's explain expression, we'll be very much respectable. And the employees also should refrain from creating subordination also, not just the boss, the employees. And these are areas where our people, I said, kind to say, we are naive. We don't understand our rights, we don't read properly, and some instances we are afraid of our boss. I don't know how much respect my bosses will have for me after tonight, but I lose friends and I achieve new friends. So I'm not really concerned. My main objective is to get out the information, disseminate the information to the public, to the community, accordingly as I accumulated them. And to whom this may concern, I'm hoping to see some improvement after this evening with regards to employees and employers.
Having said that, and having discussed on this very program the various issues with you, have you actually experienced retaliation?
Retaliation from mostly in the streets, because...
But not at your workplace or anything?
But most particularly the employees, there was a particular manager there was frustrating me. And I told myself, probably, he may be childish. So I look beyond that and see where I can help to encourage him. Mr. Herbert, look here. The employers, something they want to discard certain workers because they think that they're not academically inclined. So they want to discard them and tend to replace them for certain university graduates and so on, which people can't really be effective in doing the work. I'm a graduate of 4C, or 4A FLE, a very dense class. And I've been employed in Leaves Electricity Department for 28 years. That's effective January 1990. And I was told, up to this present moment, I'm been assigned to the said office I'm there for about 27.5 years. I deal with custom, importation, and storekeeping for almost 28 years. And I was told there that I'm not qualified for a job. Go and get self-qualified. And there's something called qualification of experience. Why do they have to look at me now, which I have trained, I've given orientation to persons with O levels, A levels over the years. I train them about the work because they does not do the work, not because they have certain qualifications. Certification. I train them, and also I'm not qualified for a job. Go and get yourself qualified. I found it to be an insult. Qualification of experience means that you have certain experiences due to your productivity and your involvement in the work over the years, because you're productive. And I found that I'm not being given the kind of respect there that I ought to. But I'm also looking beyond that. But I do think from this evening that our employers and employees are very much more educated.
You were told that you're not qualified for the job that you're doing?
Because there's nothing unfiled that certainly proves that I have any academic certification for a job.
But so that's academically. But
so I challenge the manager. I said, well, you all gave me plaques and certificates over the years, and some instances I was the only person that was that given plaques and certificates. We have certain we call them parties or reception of celebrating the Lexi company, maybe anniversary year. And to look at me at this stage and say I'm not qualified is a total disregard and insult for my employment. Because everybody, Mr. Harbour, look at these circumstances. Everybody cannot be certified because there are people with different personalities and so on. Different personalities. We are different, right? You have slow learners. You also have fast learners. I don't care how you put it and how they put it. Everybody cannot obtain a certificate. We have people working public works department, Y department, they are field workers and so on. They haven't got academically certification, but they're very much productive. They build houses, they build roads, effectively manage the water lines and so on. So is that just a dumb statement? Just because they're in charge, they think that they can utilize the authority to exploit certain persons. It can be deemed for jealousy also. Because a fellow asked me, what class do you leave school? I said, 4A3. And he said, you're going to like that? But school is a foundation, because most of our achievements are out of school. For example, we get married out of school, we got children out of school, we build a house out of school. So school is a foundation. So whether you're well schooled or not, other people have excel out of school, both academically inclined and non-academically inclined. And I go further and say that I'm referring to like the uncertified workers. They should be given more respect, because these are the people who build these institutions and so on. And they build institutions and so on. They have worked hard. In the first degree, when there were no air conditioning, there were no computers and so on, they were there. And now they have been looking at them differently now, because somebody who came through the last shower rain under umbrella do think that they have certain degrees, and given the person that nobody was there before them. But I can't go with them. I can't deal with them, Mr. Herbert. And also, look at another area. Let's look at discourage leadership in terms of the boss and employer. The boss and employees. The employees have been discouraged because they tend to get involved in certain antisocial behaviors and lawlessness because of the mental block towards the boss and so on. They're just working as if they don't care. And then you have a very bad perception of certain employers. They cause doubts, and they cause doubts for his or her ability to effectively represent and perform duties, because they tend not to get any more support, a little support from the employees, so the employers become less effective. And here's some advice here for our employers, which I consider is very, very effective. The good traits of a boss, which considered a leader, is awareness. Then they must be able to make tough decisions, and they must have empathy. Then you have extraordinary bosses, employers. They tend to praise in public and not just problems in private. Maybe someone will say nothing absolutely wrong with that. But a good quality employer will help guide their employees through challenges, and they will seek solutions in order to enhance and foster the long-term successes of any jobs, businesses, or institutions. And my advice is for the employees, they need to listen more attentively to maybe certain public forums where they can accumulate certain education and effectively ask questions and so on. I think you have something else to say.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, we only have a few more minutes left. However, I've made quite a bit of notes of some very important things that you said, and I'm going to engage the heavyweights when they come on with some of them. But I'm suggesting that you take the next few minutes, because I know you probably have a couple more important points that you would like to bring across.
Yeah, I'll certainly wrap up here, because these are some educational guidelines I have here. Sometimes employers, we see that they're frustrated because they do see that they're getting, there's a mental block between employers and employees. So they get frustrated. And when one recognizes as an employer that they're no longer getting the support and the credibility from certain employees, they tend to frustrate them. And I said sometimes they make the government look bad. And if one is being assigned for a particular job, I said earlier, I said again, they have to take a job seriously and leave the differences, do not personalize any employee. As someone with a concern to me, perhaps earlier today, about a certain employer, we're always frustrating the subordinates. And if in that particular workforce, there is inconsistent employment that it seems as though that nobody wants to work there. And I asked myself, what possibly can be the problem? What's the problem? And these are concerns in which we need to investigate. I'll wrap up my presentation this evening, and let me say this, that the employers should avoid making personal attacks towards the employee, because all of us are working together as a team, and any decision-making procedures that they have, they should also engage the employees, because the employees are the ones who have to work with the decisions that they make. And making decisions within the absence of certain employees, I'm not saying that even though there might be a legislative body, I'm saying that if you're introducing new working conditions, that you can dialogue with the workers to accumulate certain suggestions, not when you have approved certain recommendations, you're not getting the support from the workers, because if the support is not being granted from the workers, the institution or business cannot be productive. And these are my concerns this evening.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Williams, as usual, to come here, because you've been doing this thing for over 20 years, right?
Yes, celebrated my 20th anniversary in January.
And you, every year, I know, especially in January, you have a New Year's address.
And also sometimes an independence message.
An independence message. So we want to congratulate you for the fearless way in which you put across your points. We feel your hurt when sometimes, as you say, you get pressurized as a consequence of speaking out. Yes, humiliated and so on and so forth. But somebody's got to do it. And a cost comes with everything.
Yeah. And to wrap up, I thank the general public for listening. I certainly think that they have created a certain awareness where we can have improved working conditions and a more amicable relationship with employers and employees. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Hope to see you sometime soon. And
I got to let you know that I borrowed something from you. I have it here, and I always try to give credit.
What's that?
When you said that these people who are bosses in the public sector who claim that they don't have any time to visit and check with the employees, etc., ought not to say that, because when election time comes, they go a whole week without sleeping.
They sleep one eye open, have one eye in the opposition party, make sure they don't get in. So just 1 or 2 days orientation, come on, man. Right. I said earlier, I don't want to be repetitive, but communicating their presence, it speaks volume for acceptance.
And after election, they don't study you. But for when election is, a whole week without sleeping.
No, when I say don't take a thought, I'm referring to the workforce, eh?
This is Thought That Get Results. Samuel Williams, Community Advisor for St. Kitts and Nevis. In the second segment of the program, the heavyweights will be checking in. We'll be back right after these.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. They have got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, they are open all day Saturday to serve you better. Builders Paradise, located at CAP Southwell Industrial Park, St. Kitts. Call them today at 466-4938.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Back on this episode of Talk That Get Results with our second segment. The first segment featured Samuel Williams, Community Advisor for St. Kitts and Nevis, and speaking at length on the workforce, the relationships between employer and employee. Food for thought, and he did some research, and as I said, it made some interesting notes about it. But the second segment of the program, we've got Dr. Patricia Bartlett. Good evening.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening to the entire listening audience and the viewing audience as well. I'm so sorry I haven't been here for a while. I'm losing my orientation, Webbo. I would just like to say good evening to all my friends. I don't have time tonight, to get into individualizing my, my friends out there, but just to say good morning to my husband.
You're not alone, Dr. Bartlett, because I'm feeling my way around. I haven't been here for a while either. Conrad Nile-Libert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening to your staff here at VON Radio, to my colleagues. Good evening, my colleagues. Good evening. To all in tune to this wonderful program. Good evening. I'm happy to be back, Webbo. Seems like we had a long break. I wanted Mr. Hobson to come by because I really wanted to again congratulate him on his achievement. I think it's a well worthwhile gesture by the NIA, and more power to Mr. Hobson. I feel very proud sitting with him on this program, and I honestly think he's quite a good chap, very social, and again I just want to say I salute you, Mr. Hobson, and more strength and power going forward. Good evening.
Yeah, while Edric Stanley is getting himself sorted out, let me make a comment on that as well, because I was so fulfilled when I heard about it. Because, as you all may be aware, I am very pro-Ted in that I almost want to argue that if you wanted to know about his exploits in the later years, you could have asked me, because he has made immense contribution across the board and on a personal level. Because you've heard me say, if I said it once, I've said it 100 times. That I don't know what I would do without him, right? Even, and more so, as you know, every now and then, they saw us, and even if for no other reason, but for more reason than that.
Yeah.
And his immense contribution across the island. And what I found was fascinating, that the ceremony that they had, I've heard a number of people say, they had no idea of the scope of the contribution of Mr. Hobson, and in particular in cricket, because you keep hearing me saying all the time that Ted was one of our better cricketers. Mm-hmm. And in the ceremony that they had, they detailed some of it. And by the way, we have been preparing a documentary on Ted here for a little bit. And, I didn't want to announce it yet, but we're thinking on releasing it during our anniversary, that is the month of June. And, so that's going to be something else. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I really just wanted to again point that out, and especially in this forum where we pick up the folks far and wide. Mm-hmm. And again to to say kudos to the Premier, Mr. Brantley, and his cabinet. Mm-hmm. And of course, Mr. Brantley also would have known of his exploits, because remember that Mr. Brantley was on this program as well before he branched off on his own and so on and so forth. So again, congratulations to Ted and his family for that accolade. It is only, in my view, a small measure of the contribution that he has done, but well deserved. Edric W. Stanley, good evening. And you know, before I yield back to Edric W. Stanley, it is also so amazing and satisfying that when I can't make it, how Edric or somebody else will pick up the baton or the mantle and keep the things sailing as smooth, so you don't even know who is the captain at any given time. You know what I'm saying? And that gives me joy. So Edric W. Stanley, good evening.
Good evening, Webo. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the people of St. Kitts and more particularly the people of Nevis. Those who will be listening to us on the World Wide Web and throughout the Caribbean Basin. Well, welcome back from Prague. I hope you had some conversation up there with some of those socialists and communists and to tell them stay out of our backyard. Well, of course, it's good to have you back. Really good to have you back. And as I
Edric, let's see whether or not this person is urgent. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Herbert.
Yes.
I'm here in a discussion with some family members, and it's rather upsetting to know that a bunch of people going home from Four Seasons without the severance pay, and some of them saying that they were threatened that if they try to get the severance pay, they won't be employed again in Four Seasons. I'm wondering if the government had a backroom meeting with the Four Seasons crew and came out with that answer. Is there no money in the treasury to pay these workers that the government has collected over the years? Because if you're home for 3 months, you must get your severance pay. So I don't know how they're going to tell the workers that if they try to collect their severance pay, they will not be eligible to reapply for a job there again. Where are these people going to go? Does the government have everything in place for them?
You're
talking about Ted Hobson, a guy that didn't win much case in the island of Davis.
Yeah, let's do walk with me. Let's do one thing at a time. The comment that you're making on Four Seasons, is it a statement of fact or is it something that you heard?
It is a fact.
It is a fact, meaning that you have first-hand knowledge of it?
Mr. Herbert, do not play games with me.
That is a game? That is a question.
You're playing games. It is a fact.
Okay, just hold a second. Edric, that's a game?
No, it's not a game, but I think you should pointedly ask him if he works at Four Seasons, and he might be able to tell you, yes, I'm an employee at Four Seasons, and I've been told that I cannot re-employ if I don't. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but in a sense,
to ascertain as to whether or not he's speaking factually, or he is assuming.
But in a sense, that's what I ask him, whether or not he has factual knowledge.
I am not assuming.
And that's when he said that I'm playing games.
I'm not assuming because you have heard of it. So I don't want to pretend that you never heard of it.
And that's the other thing, you know. You happen to know I heard of it.
Mr. Herbert,
yes.
You have talk shows. People call it with stories. Trust me, you have heard of it.
Okay.
As Mr. Barry would say, I'm putting it to you. Okay. You have heard it.
Well, how about we do this? The Premier is here tomorrow night.
The Premier?
Yes. Let's put it to him.
Who is he? The guy that work less and travel more? That you're talking about that guy?
Okay. Let's put it to him tomorrow night because I know him even before he was Premier. And up to this day, I never
know him. I think that's another guy you're talking about. Everything he has put his hand to never come to anything otherwise than money and its table.
Okay. All right. Stanley, go ahead.
I just have to take this with laughter. Anyhow, welcome back, like I said, and it is good to know that the ship stayed afloat by 2 selections. I guess you had a hand in it, but it was as fresh as a rose. They were as fresh as roses, as crisp as a dollar bill coming off the mint.
Yeah.
And I would say this, that I do not know what you'll do in the next 20, 25, 30 years, but we have had some really good programs. And in that regard, those 2 selections that you picked, although I was a little frightened when I heard the second one, I said, but wait, was I the only person there? Luckily, the Honorable Mark Brandley came in after. And of course, the other 2 programs, the churches, I liked. You know, the thing is that we in this community, we are going down a little dark road, in my view, and we have to begin to pull our community people together and again amplify the importance of church membership, attendance, and the whole 9 yards, because Nevis again is the best place on earth to be. And in that regard, we need the churches, we need people to be in church. So, Huevo, let's keep this show rolling. Let's keep this show going for the next 30 years. And I hope I'll be around. Of course, we have...
You'll be all right, kids. You will be able to select Trump. When the question is, you say, I'm so young and vibrant. But I just wanted to make a point on the replays that you were referring to, because somebody thereafter told me about it and remarked how we did a survey one night on an issue, and we took 100 and over 60-something responses in about 15 minutes, getting a good cross-section of how people felt on a given issue. And you know, I thought that's what we used to do then, and that was very important. And so that kind of information and response can help those persons who shape public policy and opinion. So on that given time, you had a good idea of how people were thinking based on the particular subject matter at the time. Now, in reference to, you know, as you're suggesting, playing more of those, what I can tell the public in advance, that one of the things that we are planning, in addition, as I said, we probably going to try and do that documentary, or release it for TED in June, but also we'll do a lot of those as well that we've done before. And as you said, as fresh as a rose, and is good material.
Yes, well, I was...
Let me see this. Good evening, thank you for holding. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening, gentlemen. Carl Brown here from Fountain, Ghana Part, and St. Kitts. Gentlemen.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I want you all to answer me a few questions, because the NRP opposition have been coming down here for years now, and on Freedom Radio every week, and they've been preaching gloom and doom to hell, and all hell is concerned about is retrieving souls, burning souls, sorry, let me take back that, burning souls in Nevis. And gentlemen, I had to challenge them today. Dr. Daly was there, the Hector was there, and they had someone else there, and I had to challenge them today. And what they were doing today is, as usual, doom, that Nevis is going to hell in a dark hole Radio is only burning souls. Now, I asked them a couple of questions today, and Dr. Daly gets very, very upset. You all could get the tape copy from Freedom Radio. Now, what I asked is that since CCM has been in government, is there any work being done at Long Point? He gets very upset. I say, cool down, cool down. I'm asking the question. When I don't ask the question, you can elaborate or debate on it. I ask again, is there any work being done at the pier at Wally Beach? He gets very upset. I ask, is there any work and rebuilding of the treasury and making it much bigger in Charlestown? He said, oh, it's the SIDF. Well, I said to him, well, the SIDF don't belong to St. Kitts Nevis. Right? I asked him again, since CCM has been in, is there any work being done on the Bath Hotel? He laughed and he giggled like nothing been going on there at the Bath Hotel. I asked them again, is there any, in terms of the collection and contribution of the monies into the inland revenue and the taxpayers, have that had gone up significantly, and have there been an improvement in collection of the tax dollars in Nevis? Well, Dr. Daly read out some report from 2016 and all kind of things, and he make it to be loom and gloom that nothing, and every week they come down here, they make it like nothing is happening in Nevis. I say, well, guys, if nothing is happening in Nevis, why NRP cannot win an election in Nevis? Why they cannot convince the voters to vote them into office? You all have been losing and losing bad and losing terribly every election, right? So it means that you all have to change your all message. And I told them they have been preaching those messages for years, and they have not been working to change the strategy and come with something different because they're not convincing the voters in Nevis. I say, the other thing about it is that, guys, can you explain to me why in Social Security that there have been significant contribution and a large amount of people have been contributing to Social Security, meaning the improvement of work and projects and programs in Nevis? They get very, very upset, and it was very alarming on Freedom Radio this afternoon, right? So, guys, what I'm saying to you, forget about the naysayers out there, right? The collection in the inland revenue have improved, but there's more work to be done. And I have to tell them this afternoon that lots of you guys are not paying your taxes. And you need to pay your taxes to improve the collection in Nevis. And they got very upset about that. So these are the things I want to ask you guys tonight, right? We know that they have been preaching gloom and doom and a dark hole, and all they've been preaching is that Nevis is come a place where that is hellfire, and all CCM is offering is consuming souls, but yet they cannot win an election. And I said that to Dr. Daly, I said that to Hector and the other guys this afternoon on Freedom Radio, and it was a bazaar and a horror, guys. They didn't like that. So we don't have to study that. Guys, we know things are being happening in Nevis. And when I told them about the treasury and the rebuilding of it, hear what they say. Oh, it's this idea fund. Wait. I called back and I said to them, we get SIDF fund, it don't belong to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. They had nothing to say. A gone, gentlemen.
Right.
I would like to hear you guys on this.
Okay, Edric. Dr. Bartlett?
Well, I don't think you recognize me. I don't think you want my input on that one. So I'll reflect.
Naya?
Well,
any comment?
It's the opposition.
Yes.
You know, one would expect them to be trying to say things. But I don't like the idea sometimes we preach doom and gloom and sometimes falsify a situation for public, which the public will consume. But it's the opposition. It's good to know that they exist, though. And I haven't been hearing much from them, to be quite honest. And but you know what? At the end of the day, one can always have an opinion as to what's going on in Nevis. But I think Nevis remains, as Stanley always say, one of the more beautiful places on earth to be. And I suppose what's going on here in terms of with the politics and politicians, it's not unique at all. I think sometimes there's a lot more to appreciate than the evaluation of people in public office and what they do. And as I said, the opposition would always try to find something to say, whether it's good or bad. But we got to be careful what we say in terms of damaging our little island. So, you know, I suppose I didn't listen to them, but I would say this to all politicians in their quest for power. Be careful what you say, that you don't damage the same island that you're trying to uphold and propel forward, really.
Edric, you wanted to make a comment?
It's unfortunate that sometimes people would not find the positive things to say, in my view, which would bolster their credibility. If for some reason somebody feels that nothing is happening in Nevis, and they could point clearly that nothing is happening in Nevis, then I think they would be making some mileage. But if they were to be honest about the whole situation, this is done. This is done. I would not have done it the way the government is doing it. We're in opposition, and because we're in opposition, this is why we have a different approach to this particular issue in this at this particular juncture. But to say nothing is happening, I think it's a falsehood, and I think it damages one's credibility, whether it is an individual or the party itself. For me, I don't go out and really call names when I'm in this game of politics. Like I've said, for me, I never thought of myself as a politician, but rather I think of myself as a statesman, and hoping that I could always bring to the fore.
Let me just take this. I'm going to come back to you. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening. This is for Naya. You're talking about people who must be careful about what they say about the island, and it will be damaging. Do you remember your friend, your fearless leader, whichever side, went out to Corner Radio and called Nevis the murder capital of the world? Do you remember that?
Well, that could
You
be
must
said,
remember
and that has been
You must
said.
remember those things too.
But
You must remember when he went all out to damage the reputation of Nevis. Good night.
Well, it makes no difference. It makes no
Right,
difference.
the admonition is the same.
You know, damage is
shouldn't do
damage.
it.
It doesn't. But I'm saying that you got to be careful what you're saying.
We, just say we. Make
We
it
got to be
inclusive.
careful.
We have to be.
Edric?
So my approach, if I want to unseat the government or the ruling party, is to tell the truth to the people. And if you continue to speak truth, they will understand that you are the messenger of truth, and ultimately, time is longer than twine, you'll get there. Because people will get tired of politicians, no matter how good they are. At a certain point in time, your chance will come, and nothing happens before its time. So those who are attempting to propel falsehoods, I would admonish them to take another route. This advice, of course, comes not with a bill, free of charge. So I am advising you that if for some reason you get on another forum or even Von Radio, when you get the opportunity, propel your argument in a truthful and wholesome manner to convince people that you are a good messenger.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hey, good night. Like I want to say again, you used to run politics, right? You know, all politicians, they don't tell the truth, they lie.
Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hey, gentlemen, good evening again. Carl Brown here from Pinkerton Fountain. Yes, I asked these guys from NRP this afternoon because they say nothing is happening in Nevis. I say, they say since 1991, 92, nothing has major projects have happened in Nevis. I said, have any work been done on the Bath Hotel since CCME? Dr. Daly had a big laugh, like somebody give him a very large joke. I said, is there anything happening on the pier in Wally Beach? He chuckled with that. I asked him, since CCME been in, has there any construction or any form of project been happening at Long Point? He was like so surprised and want to know, Long Point? That was his answer, Long Point? When? Right? And I asked him about a number of other projects that have been happening in Nevis, and he got very upset. Him and his colleagues on the program, and I have to say to them, cool down. All I'm asking is questions. Just answer the question, because for years now, you all have been coming to Pinkerton preaching loom and gloom like Nevis is the pit of hell with a very dark hole that consuming souls. You know what they end up saying? Oh, that's your opinion. I said, but that's why you've been preaching.
All right. Okay, thank you very much.
That's on, guys.
Okay. Edric, you... Yes, go ahead.
It seems as if really it's a strategy that opposition, usually would, indulge in. I personally don't like it. I would prefer if people look at the policies that are in place, look at, and there's so much, there's so much to critique, really. and so I just don't understand, but it gets so personal sometimes because the person just now, I didn't hear the comments, and I don't like to, comment on someone else's comment about someone else's comment, third line, I don't like that. Because it depends on how he perceives it. I don't even know how he asked the questions, so I would prefer not to go, there. But suffice it to say, though, that we have seen this, and when the comments are made, sometimes not that they're not necessarily true about your country, but to what what is the advantage, And I'm like, people really need to be careful, because you're going to damage the same product, and then you have to spend years trying to rebuild your reputation. And I just don't understand. At the end of the day, I think before politicians engage their mouths, they need to engage their minds sometimes. And this is just a general thing. It does not necessarily just focus on what was said or not said this afternoon, because I didn't hear it myself. I'm just making a general comment, so nobody need to look at me bad. But sometimes they say things, and it's just for a short-term gain, and then at the end of it, we all suffer because of it. And it's about time that they, tidy up, their presentations. Sometimes I find that, politicians only get a little too personal. And Samuel was on earlier, and he said a lot of things that resonated with me, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get to that, the community advisor, that you had on earlier, because some things that are happening here, you know, I don't think that they ought to persist. And I think there's a lot that we can look at and evaluate and critically evaluate, because sometimes even the data, you know, economic data, those are fair game, and people should be able to at least pick something up and make sense of it and be able to explain it to the common person. And you must have standards that you're making, as, you know, using as reference points. Just say nothing is happening. You have to be able to point, you know, something is always happening, you know. And you ought to be able to compare things, compare periods, compare data, and, you know, and make it an enlightening, you know, experience. Not just every day you get a chance, you just, you know, it's just making negative statements. That, you know, it doesn't hold on its own.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening. I don't mean to be pounding the guy's side tonight. Tell Mr. Brown, find some jobs for workers that is going to go home next month or Four Seasons. And look around in Singit, see how many trucks you see from Nevis in Singit working. It's going to get dark, very dark, yes, next month. Tell Mr. Brown, look out for that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Edric?
Like I've said, I am in the real estate business, and I could tell you, I see great days ahead for Nevis. Nothing, again, happens before it's time. But people are looking, people with money, at Nevis as a place to invest. Some people, of course, make sure they feel that dollar several times before they part with it. And in this regard, we have space, and those spaces are going to be taken. And some of the spaces that people are looking at are quite at the higher end in terms of price. I've mentioned in the past that there is a condominium hotel just east of the University of the Americas. And the information I got, I was taken there, 256 rooms are going to be constructed, and they've already started. One building at the ground floor level, and they have already started at the second level of that same building. There's another hotel that's supposedly in the pipeline to come, because I spoke with a fellow who is, I think, is supporting the opposition, and he has confirmed, in fact, another hotel is in the pipeline to start. So, again, nothing happened before its time. I may sound like a broken record with this statement, but Nevis is a diamond in the rough, and things are going to be unleashed. Those who are preaching gloom and doom, I would admonish you, all of you, not to preach gloom and doom, because when it happens, then what do you say to those people whom you mentioned? Nothing has happened, and we do not see anything on the horizon. You would have impugned your own credibility, and thus makes it more difficult for you to unseat the current government. These people who are in government now, they're doing what they can. I'm not going to tell you they're doing their utmost or their best, but they're doing what they can, and things are happening. Rate of unemployment in Nevis is very, very low.
What is it?
I can't quantify the percentile amount,
So
but
how
I
could
would
you say it's very, very low?
But what I would say.
Let me just take this while you think on that. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good night. This is for Edric Stanley, my friend. Mr. Stanley, we talk time and time again. That I'm glad you might open my story, Jumbo. I approach you on the behalf of certain ministers of the former government to sell that same piece of land you're talking about building a hotel on for another university You said you would never sell that. Now you're throwing it out there that a hotel is coming to Brick Lane and that piece of land. Mr. Stanley, I've heard Vance Emery with those promises about 14 to 16 hotels, none as yet. Now you're coming with more hotels again, which will never be. Unless it could happen for June 1st to get those people in Four Seasons employed, then let me see it, let me believe something that I ever say. I never believe anything that CCN people say. Never. It's a bunch of promises and nothing come to fruition. Nothing. You all have never brought anything to Nevis and never see it yet. Show me something how you bring. You rebuild something that was there, yes. Show me something you bring. You never bring anything. I know you are using NRP slogan, but in the pipeline, find another slogan.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hey, gentlemen, Carl Brown here again. I'm so very happy that you guys are naming out a number of projects and programs that are happening and proceeding in Nevis, because that's what I tried to do this afternoon. And these guys tried to shut me down. I even asked them, have there been any improvement in the collection of taxes from the taxpayers in Nevis? And Dr. Daly read out from 2016, 2017, 2018 and saying collection was down and that sort of thing. But I just let him have his way, right? No, these are the same guys that is trying to ask the people of Nevis to give NRP a chance again. Now, how are they? I also issued to them. I said, guys, change your strategy. I have been telling you this for many, many years. And you guys have been losing election after election and losing worse and worse and worse. So, guys, it's time for you guys to rethink your strategy and your programs and policies, because it's not working. And you're not going to win any election on that program and policies which you have every week in Nevis, every week in St. Kitts. The voters are not voting for you. You're not convincing anybody enough to vote you guys into office. So change your strategy. And that one got them very, very upset again too, right? So I am very glad that you guys are naming out a number of programs, because I name out a number of programs and policies which is happening, and they want what, you know what they're looking for? They want what happened to Four Seasons. When Four Seasons came, they are looking at big, large, exclusive major projects, but they're not looking at the small, little projects that create jobs and programs and policies and uplift the economic development in Nevis.
Okay.
Like the Mondo Park.
Okay.
Like the Bath Hotel, the pier doing down at Wally, and the housing program, the roads program, the school rehabilitation program to education and that sort of thing. I mean, these guys live in Nevis. I come to Nevis, I mean, every couple of months, and I seeing these things and knowing these things. These guys up there every day, they're supposed to know these things.
Okay.
Gone, guys.
All right. Okay. Yes. Who is it? Dr. Bartlett, I think you wanted to get to a couple of the things that were mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Did you notice the one that I highlight? Well, I turned it into a light moment, but anyway, go ahead.
Yes, I listened to Samuel, and I think he had some very, reasonable points, to discuss.
Yeah.
Without getting personal, it is true that things have deteriorated badly. Webber, if I would share an experience with you, I heard him talking about people who have been marginalized and people who have been disrespected. I personally had an experience like that. Somebody, and I was just doing my job, and I didn't. And he's saying about going back and orientation, and which just those things are reasonable things, And the experience I wanted to share is that someone actually said, in me administering the work I was being paid for, someone actually said, you know, a long time, you know, you should have done send on the woman, you know, in a disrespectful way like that. And I was like, well, what did I do to deserve that? And all I can say is that I've been on the radio and all of my comments may not have been complimentary. I'm not, you know, when I come here, I don't come here, you know, to favor anybody. It's not about fear or favor. I don't know who else here would just say things just to favor people, you know. I try to be as, you know, straight as as I see it, you know, speak it as I see it, you know, and people want to get at you, you know, for basic things like that, just for speaking your mind. And even though we've realized where the court is going nowadays, everybody is going to the court, you know, and nobody taking them kind of things, sitting down now. So it's good that Samuel could stay his ground, you know, and be able to talk about these issues that are affecting people, because it is true that you have a lot of people who are very silent, you know, people who are being abused daily, who are very silent on the issue. And most of the times it's just bread and butter issues, because people know that there will be recriminations. You know, people know you can't open your mouth because, you know, you'll be sent home, you have mortgage to pay, people have all those concerns. And I think that we ought to have more representation as it relates to the labor laws. People need to be defending, you know, and just yesterday we had Labor Day, you know, and it really is about the rights of workers. And people shouldn't have to go to the court, you know, for basic rights. You know, some things you just think that we're at the level of maturity in this country that people ought not to be fighting for basic rights. And time again, you're seeing people going to the court, you know, and that is not necessary. I just, because I said, let me segue just a little bit. Congratulations, Naya, you know, can smoke in, you know, in the privacy of your home. And that was a case that was, you know, brought. And I was like, why did we even contest it? Because the case, you know, we had the South Africa Supreme Court that would have ruled on it already. And, you know, they have this thing about precedents. I don't know how it works. I don't understand how somebody, you know, argue a case in South Africa and not really affect me, but that's the way the court works. You know, and I'm like, okay, knowing that, why are we wasting time to go to court to defend something like that? You know, obviously at the end of the day, you know, it's going to prevail. The guy brought the case and he won. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to all the people who have been fighting for the rights of ordinary citizens and the workers in this country. And I'm so sorry that we still have to be at that stage that we are fighting for basic rights in this country. And so I encourage people who are out there, know that precedence has been set. You remember you had the other case there with the chaplain in St. Kitts, that the customs, who, you know, took his kids, you know, to court. So freedom of expression, people ought to be able to express themselves, you know, not to be disrespectful. And, you know, it hurts me when people are disrespectful towards me, because I'm not a disrespectful person. I would tell you what I think or what I feel, but I would never disrespect, you know. And I don't think that people in authority ought to be disrespecting, you know, the subordinates, as Samuel would have, you know, referred to people. I don't like that term, though. But that's, you know, the term that is used. And people in, you know, authority ought to respect the workers. And Labor Day yesterday was a good time for workers to come out and demonstrate against these kind of things that are happening. Without getting personal, mind you, without getting on the party thing. You know, I know it is silly season and people are pulling left and right. You know, I'm not involved in the politics yet. You know, so I want to stay on the edges. You know, I don't want to get in the fray. You know, so, but just so that people respect the basic rights of, you know, workers.
Well, as I was saying, and the fellow called in and he made some statements which I am completely unaware of, because I never told him I will not sell. I can't carry anything with me, and it is good for me to enjoy the fruit of my labor. I've never been unemployed from the time I've known myself, and I've worked hard. And if somebody comes and they truly want what I have, sure, I let them have it. I mean, I was at a funeral some weeks ago, Mr. Hill's funeral in St. James. And a gentleman told me, before you leave, I want to show you something. And so he took me and he showed me this particular hotel that has started. And I've seen it. I went there before I had seen it, but I had no knowledge as to the scope. But he was able to show me exactly what they plan to do with reference to the number of rooms, and that's why I could have amplified the numbers that I've stated. I've seen people working on the building. It's real. That particular area wasn't my land. That particular area was sold to the current owners by somebody else. My piece is just about 4,500 feet east of that. I'm still hoping that somebody would see a diamond in the rough and would be able to put down something larger than I can. I mean, I had all my plans, but Bin Laden turned the world on its head, and my plans were scuttled. I'm still trying to regain my foothold based on my strategy. Anyway, I was at another funeral.
Okay, let me just take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
That, hello, speaker.
Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
I was at a funeral on Saturday, and somebody told me, look, before you leave here, I want to take you. I want us to go, and another piece I got. And of course, and these are what I'm talking about factually. There's no need for me to peddle falsehoods. And I'm trying to admonish those who are peddling falsehoods to stop it.
And what is a
credible.
deductible fact from what you say also? It seems like you do a lot of business at funerals.
Well, listen.
Seems like.
Look.
That's why you go so hard?
No. We know people know us, and we must show our last respects when it comes to the.
No, that's not where the debate is, you know. But what I'm saying is, nothing is wrong with that. They said most of the deals that they make in those big places are on a golf course. And based on the, notice what I said, a deductible fact, because
I'm just saying.
you're given two examples of deals and they were at funerals. And I cut you off because maybe you have more.
It's very likely.
There you
we
go.
know that there is an international bank that is here.
You're not going to tell me that deal was done at the funeral too.
But I know of it. I know of it. I mean, I can give you some inroads into that particular property. But based on what I was told, that property was sold, and the fellow got like a handsome piece. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying to you, those who have said nothing is happening in Nevis, that's really not true. And I will tell you, ultimately, this island is going to just move, and we're going to have to import workers in order to facilitate and to boost the reality of what investors want in Nevis. It's a diamond in the rough. And Will Rogers says, buy space because they're not making any more of it. So with the additional spaces we have, people ultimately will come. Webo.
Naya?
Well, as a member of the public, I must say, yes, we've been hearing a lot about hotels for a long time. I won't be convinced until I see much more as it relates to structure and so forth. But I can walk with Stanley when he oftenly said that Nevis is a diamond in the rough, because I feel like something can happen here, because it doesn't take a lot, really. It's a small island, you know. I mean, Four Seasons came and changed the whole island. I'm not asking for another Four Seasons, but what I'm saying, that the economic activity can be greatly improved all of a sudden, and we are unable to deal with it in terms of our human resource and you know, being a part of the development and the investment that is taking place. I'm definitely worried about that. But until these things become reality, and as I say, we've been hearing a lot about hotels for a long time, I would ask the people to work hard and to take make use of every little opportunities, because people come to Nevis and getting along. People come to Nevis and function and see brighter days and continue to see brighter days and bringing in their friends and family. So, you know, I suppose we got to be more resourceful as local people. I wouldn't say indigenous people, but this is what happened all around the world, where when migrant workers come to a place, migrant workers tend to progress much faster, and they're willing to be more flexible as it relates to rate and hours and so forth. Bearing that in mind, and looking at, you know, the tininess of our little island, I would suggest that Nevisians, you know, should put their heads down and work harder and try to expand in every little venture which they can, you know, and if stop complaining about people coming here and doing this. If the people can come here and get along, why we can't get along being here? Even if we can, you know, look at what they're on about and get on with it, because we're supposed to be able to get on with it even faster than them. But I am in some way lean towards what Mr. Starley is saying all the time, that Nevis is going to hit the fast track. I hope it be soon, very soon, because, you know, to me, our sister island has hit the fast track. And of course, we are living here in anticipation, because, you know, as I said to a friend of mine yesterday, there's lots of beautiful places on Nevis, you know, social places and otherwise. And there's lots of houses here for rent and so forth. There's this expectation, to me, existing here, which we hope it will be fulfilled, and sooner or later. Sooner or later, because things are happening, but, you know, maybe the everyday people will say it's not trickling down. Maybe not as yet, you know. Some people can't wait. I'm one of them who can't wait, because I feel like when it happens, it will be good for all of us, good for me, you know. You know, but I don't oftenly speak of me, because I think, you know, I'm okay. I speak of the less fortunate ones and those who have to deal with more complicated, you know, personal situations and so forth, because I feel like I'm one of the stronger ones. Back to Mr. Williams, Webo, I think he made some solid points, some very solid points. Orientation, you know, a new guy on the job, looking at, you know, meeting the other employees, understanding the scope of his work, understanding the work environment, you know, how to place cards, because people are sensitive, and this is a politically divided place, you know. More professionalism is so important. Going to an office the other day, and I wondering if the workers live there, because it was about 9 o'clock in the morning. Everybody seems to be making breakfast, and I'm in there, and I'm calling, and say, I'm coming. I just put the paper on the desk and leave, you know, because it looks like people live here. But, you know, I see all these things happening. I never worked for government, so I don't really know the ins and outs of it sometimes. But, you know, I could imagine the kind of pressure sometimes people find themselves under, being government workers, being, you know, given the polarized political atmosphere in which we live. But I think a lot of what Mr. Williams is saying can lead to a lot better understanding, more respect, and a more lubricated civil service and civil servants getting along. It's very important. Nevis cannot just run on one engine. You know, we cannot keep this divide through people's life and through people's, you know, dealing with the possibilities and opportunities of life. Nevisians should all benefit from living here, and we'll, whatever move and gesture we can make in order to eliminate that divide, we should, especially in the workplace, especially in the government workplace. We need to feel the impact of the full human resource of our little island. Otherwise, maybe something else will happen, which we don't like. I'm optimistic, Webo. I'm optimistic. I'm one of them who sometimes doesn't lend the ear or to what is being said. I play the average guy on the road, and I talk to the average people, and I sometimes think that way as well, even though sometimes I'm privy to more information, and I try to communicate people exactly what is going on. But I know it's not an easy thing to move Nevis and to impact on the people immediately. I think the governments are trying hard. The government are trying hard. But I think elections got to come around too much, and too much things that hinges on really, you know, impacting on the election. But all in all, Webo, I'm one of the happy ones around here, really, because I am very confident that if we as a people realize what we have here in Nevis and appreciate what we have, and don't be afraid to ask for more. I believe the politicians are trying hard, and they know what the people are thinking. And I believe they're trying hard to be re-elected again. I cannot say it's an easy thing to achieve. But with the opposition playing some silly games, it's not that difficult. But in the light of that, I would still expect that we would look around and move this country and put it on that same level, or an attempt be made to put it on that same level, as we are so close in this unity arrangement, that we can feel that St. Kitts Nevis really, on an economic level, are truly brothers and sisters. And I hope I'm not fantasizing too much and speaking in vain here, but I think that is very possible. I think it's very possible. When I come back here 2006, I think Nevis there was so much people in Nevis, so much Kittitians over here working. And as I say, it doesn't take a lot to really turn things around here. And then we will see the Kittitians move over again. It's a kind of changing state of affair all the time. So we are where we are right now, and there's room for improvement, and I think the players are in the field, so we are expecting that, and of course we can all see a much improved circumstance for the people of Nevis. But Webo, there's one thing I wanted to. I understand the idea of the university graduates building house project is going through. So that's not a street talk anymore. I understand the University Heights idea is going through. One which I oppose vehemently. I believe government really should give it some more thought. I believe there are probably other ways, and that you can actually bring back people here to live after they're going away to study than to give them land for $2 a square foot. One would have thought that once you go to the university and study, that you are in the boat to success. You are open to opportunities and can fulfill a lot more opportunity. Your scope is wider. So why should you be paying $2 per square foot of land when a man who have less opportunity, scope is much more narrower, have to pay $8? I could be very wrong about that, but it seems like the policy is working opposite to me here, and it's not really. Because as far as I check, I mean, even if you can buy land for $2 a square foot, would that bring you back to Nevis? If you have an opportunity to go elsewhere and make a lot more money? Remember, when you're coming back to Nevis, you're dealing with a whole political polarity circumstance here. You know, you're not even sure. You could be underemployed and probably not employed at all. And so, you know, let's get it right. Let's get it right. Let's don't build an area where the average man feel like he can't go up there. He only can go up there to probably cut some grass. Let's get it right, and not to make people feel subordinate because of their lack of opportunity to go to university, or their inability. Maybe they're not that inclined academically, and they are skill driven, you know, and therefore what they're on about is less than what those who have gone to university in terms of contribution to the island, you know. So be careful with that move. You know, think about it again. Think about this distinction sometimes. It's not always good. We should be together, and I suppose a university graduate is supposed to live with amongst, you know, I mean, his influence and everything else. Money can get you what you want. Money can get you what you want. But I don't think any particular area should be earmarked to no university graduate, especially when you're only going to charge them $2 a square foot per land, when the average man who not got no university and not got no education have to get $7 per square foot land. Some more thought need to be going to that. I'm not saying that I hold the whole, you know, the monopoly on ideas here, but that don't sound too right for me, really, you know. So I pass the mic.
With the last word, Conrad Nye Liburd, Edric W. Stanley, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. They have got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, they are open all day Saturday to serve you better. Builders